The Washington Monument is a defining feature of the DC skyline. Rising over 550 feet into the air, the marble obelisk is renowned for its simplicity and elegance. But did you know it was supposed to look like this? Or that it could have looked like this? Or that it remained incomplete for decades? In 1833, the Washington National Monument Society began fundraising for an architectural tribute to the nation's first president. It wasn't the first monument to George Washington, but it was certainly the most ambitious. For over 10 years, the society raised money and received proposals for what the monument could look like. The competition was heated. The new monument would help define the essence of America's architectural style. Architects from across the country submitted designs, including a pyramid and a rotunda with an eagle on top. One man spent so much time perfecting this temple-inspired design that he wound up in a debtor's prison. In 1845, the society selected the design of a well-known American architect named Robert Mills. How did Mills define the essence of American architecture? Really big. Mills proposed a classically influenced 500-foot-tall stone obelisk placed atop a 100-foot-tall pantheon, which contained numerous columns, inscriptions, and statues. Not only was it to be the tallest building in the United States, it was to be the tallest building on Earth. The cornerstone was laid on July 4, 1848, in front of President James Polk and over 20,000 spectators. Construction proceeded until 1855, when the board of the Monument Society was taken over by men affiliated with the Know Nothings, an anti-immigrant political movement. The new board frightened away donors, bankrupted the society, and despite fundraising appeals, by 1857, construction had ground to a virtual halt. By then, the monument was just 156 feet high, and with the country sliding into civil war, it just stayed that way for over 2 decades. The half-completed monument was a melancholy memorial to mark the grave of buried American patriotism, remarked one official. Mark Twain was less abstract, a factory chimney with the top broken off. By the mid-1870s, Congress had had enough. In 1876, they passed a bill taking over control of building and funding the monument. The Army Corps of Engineers was placed in charge, and the Monument Society took on an advisory role. But in the 30-plus years since Robert Mills' proposal had been selected, its classically inspired design had fallen out of fashion. And, more importantly, the Army discovered multiple issues with the foundation, which meant that the existing structure simply couldn't support 600 feet of stone. So, in 1877, the Monument Society began accepting fresh proposals for their half-finished obelisk. Once again, elaborate designs poured in. One placed the obelisk atop an 80-foot step pyramid inspired by Egyptian and Mayan architecture. Another featured it flanked by an enormous sphinx. But ultimately, Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Casey, the man selected to manage the construction, had a different idea. Casey was in support of a plan best articulated by U.S. Minister to Italy George Perkins Marsh. Throw out all the gingerbread of the Mills design and keep only the obelisk. With the support of Congress and the acquiescence of the Monument Society, in October of 1878, construction resumed. Using cutting-edge engineering techniques and the latest technology, Casey began strengthening the foundation underneath the existing structure. When it came time to continue building upwards, builders had to use different stone than in the first attempt, because the quarry used in the 1840s had run out. Finally, on December 6, 1884, nearly 4 decades since construction began, Casey placed the aluminum tip atop the now 555-foot-tall stone monument. While some were upset with the lack of adornment, for others, it symbolized the modesty and humility of Washington himself. And after all, it was still the tallest building on Earth, until the Eiffel Tower was built, 5 years later. For more DC history, check out our Boundary Stones playlist, and subscribe to WETA PBS on YouTube.